Hello and welcome to Written Words and to part 5 of The Baron's Yule Feast by Thomas Cooper, a Christmas poem all about the Yuletide celebrations at Torksey Hall. And like the Canterbury Tales, our poem continues with some more stories from more of the people at the feast. After a few lines from the narrator, we have first of all a ghost story from a gosherd. Then the swineherd tells a more jolly tale and raises the mood a little bit. Then we hear at last from the Baron's daughter and the minstrel's response to what she has to say. And we finish off with a love song from the lay brother. Canto 4. What power can stay the burst of song, when throats with ale are mellow? What wight with neve so stout and strong dares lift it, jolly freres among, and cry, knaves cease to bellow? 'Twas doleful drear the gossips vowed, to hear the minstrel's piteous tale. But when the swineherd tuned his crowd, and the gosherd began to grumble loud, the gossips smiled and sipped their ale. A boon, bold Thorold boldly cried, the gosherd from Croyland fen. I crave to sing of the fen so wide, and of geese and goosish men. Loud aloft they all, and the Baron with glee cried, Begin, good Swithin, for men may see thou look'st so like a knowing fowl. Of geese thou art skilled right well to trawl. Stout Swithin sware the Baron spake well, and his halting ditty began to tell. The rhyme was lame and dull the joke, but it tickled the ears of the clownish folk. The Gosherd's Song. 'Tis a tale of merry Lincolnshire, I've heard my grannam tell, and I'll tell it to you, my masters, here, and it likes you all full well. A gosherd on Croyland fen one day awoke in haste from slumber, and on counting his geese, to his sad dismay, he found there lacked one of the number. Oh, the gosherd looked west, and he looked east, and he looked before and behind him, and his eye from north to south he cast for the gander, but couldn't find him. So the gosherd he drave his geese to the cote, and began forthwith to wander over the marshy wild remote in search of the old stray gander. Oh, the gosherd he wandered till twilight grey was throwing its mists around him, but the gander seemed further and further astray, for the gosherd had not yet found him. So the gosherd, foredeeming his search in vain, resolved no further to wander, but to Croyland he turned him in dudgeon again, sore fretting at heart for the gander. Thus he footed the fens so dreary and dern, while his brain like the sky was darkening, and with dread to the scream or the startled hern and the bitern's boom he was hearkening. But when the gosherd the churchyard reached, for fearing the dead would be waking, like a craven upon the sward he stretched, and could travel no farther for quaking. And there the gosherd lay through the night, not daring to rise and go further, for in sooth the gosherd beheld a sight that frighted him more than murther. From the old church clock the midnight hour in hollow tones was pealing, when a slim white ghost to the church porch door seemed up the footpath stealing. Stark staring upon the sward lay the clown, and his heart went pitter-patter, till the ghost in the clay-cold grave sunk down, when he felt in a twitter-twatter. Soon, stretching aloft its long white arms, from the grave the ghost was peeping, cried the gosherd, Our Lady defend me from harms, and Saint Guthlac have me in his keeping. The white ghost hissed, the gosherd swooned. In the morn, on the truth 'tis no slander, near the church porch door a new grave he found, and therein the white ghost, his stray gander. The gosherd scarce his firthful meed had won ere Tybalt of Stow, with look as pert as the pouncing gleed when he eyeth the chick below, scraped his crowd, and clear and loud as the merlecock shrill or the bell from the hill, thus tuned his throat to his rough sire's praise, his sire the swineherd of olden days. The Swineherd's Song. I sing of a swineherd in linsey so bold, who tendeth his flock in the wide forest fold. He sheareth no wool from his snouted sheep, he soweth no corn, and none he doth reap. Yet the swineherd no lack of good living doth know. Come jollily troll that brown round bowl, like the jovial swineherd of Stow. He hedgeth no meadows to fatten his swine, he renteth no joist for his snorting kine. They rove through the forest and browse on the mast, yet he lifteth his horn and bloweth a blast. And they come at his call, blow he high, blow he low. Come jollily troll the brown round bowl, and drink to the swineherd of Stow. He shunneth the heat 'mong the fern stalks green, or dreameth of elves 'neath the forest treen. He wrappeth him up when the oak leaves sere, and the ripe acorns fall at the wane o' the year, and he tippleth at Yule by the log's cheery glow. Come jollily troll the brown round bowl, and pledge the bold swineherd of Stow. The bishop he passeth, the swineherd in scorn, yet to mass wends the swineherd at Candlemas morn. And he offereth his horn at Our Lady's hymn, with bright silver pennies filled up to the brim. Said the bishop, a very good fellow, I trow, come jollily troll the brown round bowl, and honour the swineherd of Stow. And now the brave swineherd in stone ye may spy, holding his horn on the minster so high. But the swineherd he laugheth and cracketh his joke with his pig boys that fiddle beneath the old oak, saying, had I no pennies they'd make me no show. Come jollily troll the brown round bowl, and laugh with the swineherd of Stow. So merrily the chorus rose, for every guest chimed in, that had the dead been there to doze, they had surely waked with the din. So the rustics said while their brains were mellow, and all called the swineherd a jolly good fellow. Come, hearty Snell, said the Baron good, what sayest thou more of the merry greenwood? I remember no lay of the forest now, said Snell, with a glance at three maids in a row. Belike I could whimper a love-lorn ditty, if Tib, Doll, and Bell would listen with pity. Then chaunt us thy love-song, cried baron and guests, and Snell, looking shrewd, obeyed their behests. The Woodman's Love-Song. Along the meads a simple maid one summer's day a musing strayed, and as the cowslips sweet she pressed, this burthen to the breeze confessed, I fear that I'm in love. For ever since so playfully young Robin trod this path with me, I always feel more happy here than ever I have felt elsewhere. I fear that I'm in love. And ever since young Robin talked so sweetly while alone we walked, of truth and faith and constancy, I've wished he always walked with me. I fear that I'm in love. And ever since that pleasing night, when 'neath the Lady Moon's fair light he asked my hand but asked in vain, I've wished he'd walk and ask again. I fear that I'm in love. And yet I greatly fear, alas, that wish will ne'er be brought to pass. What else to fear I cannot tell, I hope that all will yet be well. But surely I'm in love. Coy was their look, but true their pleasure, while the maidens listed the woodman's measure. Nor shrunk they at laughter of herdsman or hind, but mixed with the mirth and still looked kind. One maid there was who faintly smiled, but never joined their laughter. And why, by Yule mirth unbeguiled, sits the baron's beauteous daughter? Why looks she downcast, yet so sweet, and seeketh no eyes with mirth to greet? My darling Edith, hast no song? Said Torald tenderly. Our guests have tarried to hear thee long, and looked with wistful eye. Soft words the peerless damosel breathes of imperfect skill. Sweet birds, smiles the baron, all know right well, can sweetly sing, and they will. And the stranger minstrel on his knee offers his harp with courtesy, so rare and gentle that the hall rings with applause which one and all render who share the festival. De Thorold smiled, and the maiden took the harp with grace in act and look, but waked its echoes tremulously, singing no noisy jubilee, but a chanson of sweetly stifled pain, so sweet, when ended all were fain to hear her chaunt it o'er again. The Baron's Daughter's Song. I own the gay lark is the blithest bird that welcomes the purple dawn, but a sweeter chorister far is heard when the veil of eve is drawn. When the last lone traveller homeward wends o'er the moorland drowsily, and the pale bright moon her crescent bends and silvers the soft grey sky, and in silence the wakeful starry crowd their vigil begin to keep, and the hovering mists the flowerets shroud, and their buds in dewdrops weep. O then the nightingale's warbling wild, in the depth of the forest dark, is sweeter by far to sorrow's child than the song of the cheerful lark. 'Twas sweet, but somewhat sad, said some, and the Baron sought his daughter's eye, but now there fell a shade of gloom on the cheek of Edith, and tearfully he thought she turned to shun his look. He would have asked his darling's woe, but the harp again the minstrel took, and with such prelude as awoke regretful thoughts of an ancient foe in Thorold's soul, the minstrel's stranger, in spite of fear, in spite of danger, in measures sweet and soft but quaint, responded thus to Edith's plaint. The minstrel's response. What meant that glancing of thine eye, that softly hushed yet struggling sigh? Hast thou a thought of woe or weal, which breathed my bosom would not feel? Why shouldst thou then that thought conceal, or hide it from my mind, love? Didst thou e'er breathe a sigh to me, and I not breathe as deep to thee? Or hast thou whispered in mine ear a word of sorrow or of fear? Or have I seen thee shed a tear, and looked a thought unkind, love? Did e'er a gleam of love's sweet ray across thy beaming countenance play, or joy its seriousness beguile, and o'er it cast a radiant smile, and mine with kindred joy the while not glow as bright as thine, love? Why wouldst thou then that something seek to hide within thy breast, nor speak its load of doubt, of grief or fear, of joy or sorrow to mine ear? Assured this heart would gladly bear a burthen borne by thine, love. Sir Wilfrid sat in thoughtful mood when the youthful minstrel's song was ended, while Edith by her loved sire stood, and o'er his chair in sadness bended. The guests were silent, for the chaunt, where all of late were jubilant, had kindled quick imagining who he might be that thus dared sing, breathing of deep and fervent feeling, his tender passion half revealing. Soon sportive sounds the silence broke. St. Leonard's lay brother, who seldom could smother conception of mischief or thought of a joke, drew forth his old rebeck from under his cloak, and touching the chords to brain-sick words, while he mimicked a lover's fantasy, upward rolling his lustrous eye, with warblings wild he flourished and trilled, till mother and maiden aloud gan to laugh, and clown challenged clown more good liquor to quaff. Those freakish rhymes in freakish measure he chaunted for his wayward pleasure. The Lay Brothers' Love Song. The lilies are fair down by the green grove, where the brooklet glides through the dell, but I view not a lily so fair while I rove as the maid whose name I could tell. The roses are sweet that blush in the vale, where the thorn bush grows by the well, but they breathe not a perfume so sweet on the gale as the maid whose name I could tell. The lark singeth sweetly up in the sky, over songbirds bearing the bell, but one bird may for music the skylark defy. 'Tis the maid whose name I could tell. The angels all brightly glitter and glow in the regions high where they dwell, but they beam not so bright as one angel below. 'Tis the maid whose name I could tell. Sport may a while defy heart cares, and woo faint smiles from pain. Jesting a while may keep down tears, but they will rise again. And saddening thoughts of others' care, unwelcome though they be to share, and though self-love would coldly say, "Let me laugh on while others bear their own grief fardels as they may," yet while in sadness droops a brother, no brother heart can sadness smother. The tear of fellowship will start, the tongue seek comfort to impart. And English hearts of old were dull to quell their yearnings pitiful. The guests forgot the jester's strain to think upon the harp again, and of the youth who to its swell so late his sighs did syllable. Natheless no guest was skilled to find at once fit words that might proclaim, for one who seemed without a name, their sympathy, and so with kind intent they urged some roundelay the stranger minstrel would essay. He struck the harp forthwith, but sung of passion still, and still it clung to love his full melodious tongue. And so we leave everyone at the feast for a little while before we come back for the final part to hear what the minstrel has to say and how the underlying story of the minstrel and the baron's daughter finally comes to a conclusion.